When we eat earlier in the day, our body has enough time to break down that food and to really convert it into energy so that we can use it. But at night, when we're not actually active, we're winding down, we're ready to go to bed, the only thing that our body can do with all that energy is to store it.
Are you ready to bring your dream body and health into life, but just can't seem to keep the motivation going? And is it finally time to address the self sabotage and the unwanted eating behaviors, such as binge eating, emotional eating, and nighttime eating, that you know are getting in the way of your goals? Do you ever wonder what it would take for you to feel in control of your rituals so that you can stay consistent and see results? Welcome to this week's special Make Peace with Food Minisode on the Fall in Love with Fitness podcast, where you'll learn how to overcome unwanted eating behavior and other self-sabotaging habits by shifting your nervous system so that your body works with you instead of against you. I'm your host, Sherry Shaban, and with each episode, I am honored to be your coach and guide in the journey to make peace with food and find food and body freedom so that struggle with weight is a thing of the past. When you tune in every Thursday on the Fall in Love with Fitness podcast, you'll catch the latest conversation on unwanted eating behaviors and learn how to shift the nervous system, rewire the brain to new patterns, and end the food and body obsession so you finally feel relaxed and no longer confused around food. Now, before we begin, I want to quickly invite you to grab a free copy of my Food Freedom ebook that I have for you at makepeacewithfood.com. And if you find that this conversation resonates with you today, then I also want to invite you to join our free Make Peace with Food Facebook community at myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com, where you can connect with me and my team directly. The links are in the show notes. And of course, if you know somebody who you feel could benefit from these conversations and discussions, make sure to share this podcast with them too. All right, athletes, now let's get into it.
Last week, we spoke about why we tend to nighttime snack. And more importantly, we spoke about how there is a circadian rhythm match that we align our hormones around. And so this is a very, very primitive function that we actually have within us, because back in the day when we were hunter-gatherers, well, we used to spend the majority of the day hunting and gathering, and then we would tend to then consume our nutrition or the majority of our nutrients at night. And so what's changed, of course, in our modern world is that we have access to food all day long. So we do have that primitive drive, which does stem from the nervous system. It's that part of the nervous system that drives survival. And we talk about this part of the nervous system inside Make Peace with Food as protection mode. And so this is a natural urge to eat that we have in the evening. However, in modern day life, the other thing that we've also done is we've created a reward system around eating at night. Now, please let me know if this resonates with you. So for example, if during the day you've had a long, hard, stressful day at work, that nighttime eating in front of the TV is that one reward that we look forward to. It's that one thing that we feel we deserve after such a long, hard day. Or after you put your kids to bed at night, after all the tantrums and the feedings and the running around and not having a moment to yourself, sometimes not even enough time to shower. I remember that when my kids were young. I would just enjoy that time alone. It was my time. It was my alone time. And so please let me know if that resonates with you, if you're noticing that that nighttime snacking is a reward for you, if you feel that this is the time where you deserve it, where you get to reward yourself with something. And so here's the thing about reward. Reward is supposed to be pleasure. Reward is supposed to be gift. Reward is supposed to provide us value in some way. It's supposed to serve us in some way. But do you notice that after, normally when we go through that binge at night, or that, let's say, overeating certain foods at night that don't necessarily make us feel that great, we actually tend to disrupt our sleep. We tend to notice that we maybe have heartburn. We might even wake up in the morning feeling a little bit hungover. And of course, notice that since we're continuously engaging in this habit, that we are gaining weight over time. Now, breaking nighttime snacking is one of the most powerful things that we can do to impact our health. In fact, if we're able to overcome this one habit, everything changes. Because what we oftentimes don't realize is that sleep is so incredibly important for releasing weight, for transforming our body and for, of course, healing all of the other issues that we may be currently experiencing in the body. During sleep, this is the opportunity for the body to rest, and we call it digest, but really it is the opportunity for the body to really start healing certain things that may have been damaged throughout the day. And so as we're moving throughout the day, we're creating inflammation, we are creating a lot of micro damages in certain tissues, and so at night is that time for the body to really start to heal. Now, when we eat all the way up until bed, up until that point where we're going to sleep, we're actually going to bed on a full stomach and forcing the body to do a job that it's not really wanting to do at the moment. Now think about it. Food should provide energy for us. And so when we eat earlier in the day, our body has enough time to break down that food and to really convert it into energy so that we can use it. But at night, when we're not actually active, we're winding down, we're ready to go to bed, the only thing that our body can do with all that energy is to store it. And where does the body store all of that excess energy that it doesn't need at the moment? That's right, it stores it into our fat cells. And so when we have that tendency to eat the majority of our nutrients or calories at night, and I'm going to use the word calories here because calorie, I'm just using it as an energetic unit for food. But when we have that tendency to exhibit that particular behavior, then we also have a higher tendency to put on weight. And so learning how to overcome this one habit is the biggest game changer. Now, the other thing that happens at night is that our body, during that time of healing, during that time of rest, is it balances our hormones. And the hormones that are really, really important for balancing at night is ghrelin and leptin hormones. And these are the appetite control hormones. These are the hormones that trigger us to eat when we're hungry, and they also trigger us to stop eating when we're full. But when we have disrupted sleep because we're digesting our food or we're waking up at night often or we're having lower quality sleep, meaning that we're not actually getting restful sleep, then we tend to disrupt these hormones. And as a result, we also tend to notice that we have way more cravings for sugar and other things during the day. And so it kind of just becomes this vicious cycle where we are rewarding ourselves for whatever our day was, whatever we feel we deserve by the end of the day. It ends up disrupting our sleep. During the day, we tend to have even more cravings and maybe even have this tendency to not even notice when we are actually hungry for real food or when we are full or feeling satisfied with our meals. And then right away, we're right back into that nighttime snacking. And so anytime that we want to change any behavior is we have to realize that we make every single decision as humans. The psychology behind every single decision is to move away from pain and to move towards pleasure. And so when I say pain here, I don't necessarily mean physical pain, but what I do mean is discomfort, anything that feels uncomfortable. And so that's why we build those reward systems in our mind. So during the day, I was super stressed. I had a hard day at work. Maybe my clients were mean, or maybe I was on the call center all day and people were being rude to me, or maybe I have a lot of stress at work and deadlines. And so I feel that by the end of the night, I deserve a reward. So that is the moving away from pain, which is the discomfort or the stress of the day, and then moving towards the pleasure, which is the reward of nighttime snacking. Except our mind doesn't actually think any further. It doesn't think that one step further, which reminds us of the pain that's going to follow that reward that we've decided or set in our mind. And so if we really want to overcome nighttime snacking or any other unwanted eating behavior, we have to reassign pain and pleasure points. So if currently the pleasure of this behavior is actually that time alone in front of the TV where you can eat whatever you want, maybe nobody's watching, maybe you're feeling that you don't have to hold back and you could just absolutely just release and let yourself go in the moment, what we're actually going to do is start to reassign a new pleasure point. And so the pain then can be, well, if I eat at night, then I don't sleep well. If I eat at night, then it starts to disrupt my sleep, starts to disrupt the healing process that my body naturally wants to go through while I'm sleeping. It starts to disrupt my hormones, and then it increases craving. And of course, as a side effect of that, I'm going to put on weight over time as I continue to engage in this habit. So now that I've reassigned the pain, I can now start to think about how this is something I don't want, especially if you are tuning in today and one of your goals is really to get control over your health, maybe even your weight, so that you feel more comfortable in your body, so that you can have your life back, so that you can do all the things that you know you want to do in life, all the things that you've always envisioned to do, whether that's spending more time with your kids or traveling or hiking or just really using your body in the way that you've always wanted. That could already start to generate a greater pain point. You see how I started really small and started to expand on it and really thinking about how if I address this one thing, it's going to impact all the different areas of my life? Well, that's how we can start to make that decision. If all I'm focusing on as a pain point is, oh my God, it's been a hard day at work. Oh my God, the kids were driving me so crazy today and I just can't wait for this one moment, then I will immediately feel that nighttime snacking is that reward for myself. That is my pleasure point. However, if I reassign different meanings and I realize that, my goodness, actually by doing this behavior, and I've been doing this now for years, I've put on 40 or 50 or 60 or maybe even 100 pounds. I don't sleep very well at night. I'm extremely exhausted at work during the day. I notice I have a lot of gut issues. I have a lot of pain in my body. There's inflammation everywhere. Everything always hurts. Why? Because the body doesn't have a chance to recover and to heal. And so as you continue to expand on that and realize that as a consequence of that, it's really taking away from your quality of life, you can start to see how if you move away from that pain and move towards the pleasure of having freedom in your body, freedom in your life, feeling pain-free, feeling that you're getting restful sleep, feeling more in control around your eating, it becomes a much easier decision for you to make. It becomes a much less feeling of needing to restrict or use massive discipline or accountability to overcome that behavior. Because let's face it, discipline doesn't work. I think you know that by now. You're all here because you know that discipline doesn't work. And it's not because you're not doing anything correctly. It actually has absolutely nothing to do with what you're doing. It actually has to do with that you cannot use sheer force or discipline or willpower, as they call it, to really stop yourself from doing something. The body will always tend to favor something that is going to provide pleasure and move it away from pain. And so if you've heard this conversation today and this is resonating with you, and maybe you're needing some support around how to reassign these pain and pleasure points, maybe even needing some more support around how to have guidance to overcome other unwanted eating, especially where you're feeling out of control around your behavior. Maybe you've heard this conversation and it's resonating with you. Everything is so clear. This is something that you would like to do. However, no matter how much you've tried, it's still that struggle. Well, that's where we can support you. And you don't need to do this alone. I've used a coach for so many different areas of my life, and I still continue to use coaches because not only do I get to where I want much faster, but they also expose my blind spots. I also am exposed to what I'm not aware of. And awareness is that greatest thing that we need for transformation. We cannot shame ourselves to change. We can only love ourselves towards transformation. And so if you'd like, and you're new to this group, I want to invite you to take access of that 30-minute free discovery call that you have available to you. During this 30 minutes together, we're going to actually determine what's going on in terms of what's driving the unwanted eating behavior, whether that's emotional eating or binge eating or nighttime snacking or even mindless eating or compulsive overeating. Most often we find it is the nervous system. And many of the women that join our programs have had gastric bypasses or gastric sleeves put in place. They've had weight loss surgeries. They've tried the Ozempic. They've tried all these things, and still it gives them a temporary result, but they still keep coming back to that unwanted behavior because fixing whatever is on the outside doesn't actually help us fix what's really going on the inside. And that's where we come in. We help shift your nervous system from protection mode to safety mode, so all these behaviors, all these self-sabotaging behaviors are no longer an issue. And so if you take advantage of this 30-minute free discovery call, we'll let you know what's going on, what's driving the unwanted eating. And if we notice that there is a nervous system issue involvement that's really behind all of this, we'll let you know. And then we'll share with you all the different ways that Make Peace with Food can help you, which of course will fit into your lifestyle and into your budget, because that's what's really important. It has to be sustainable. Now, If we find that it may be something else, that's sometimes the case, by the way, we'll also let you know that and then give you other resources to help you along your journey. Either way, it is a massive win-win for you. And don't you feel that at this point, you owe it to yourself to at least find out what's going on, especially if you're on here researching on Google, researching on YouTube, researching on Facebook, researching, signing up for all the free Facebook groups. Wouldn't you think that at this point you owe it to yourself to really get more specific around what's going on with you? I would hope so, and it would be my greatest honor to spend 30 minutes with you and support you in any way that I can. So, love you all, have a beautiful rest of your day, and I hope to see you soon on that discovery call.
Thank you for listening to this week's Make Peace with Food Minisode on the Fall in Love with Fitness podcast. If this has resonated with you today, I want to invite you to subscribe to the show so you never miss a beat. And if you know someone who could benefit from this conversation, then please share this episode with them. Let's work together to help as many people as possible make peace with food and fall in love with fitness. And by the way, I need to mention that if you rate and review this podcast on iTunes and send over the screenshot to Sherry at sherryshaban.com, you'll receive a $500 voucher to join me at one of my upcoming retreats or to use it in our Make Peace with Food coaching program. And don't forget to visit myfoodfreedomlifestyle.com to join the free Facebook group for more resources. And remember, athlete, you are an inspiration. I cannot wait to hear your story.